Hey, it's another episode of the Just My Take podcast. This is episode 26. This is Dex PC5. Hope you guys are having a lovely week. It's been a pretty big week in terms of sports. We're going to get into all of it today. But first, let me start off with a few things. So now the shows are officially on YouTube. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be posting them, I believe, Thursday evening, because I want to give the people who are listening to the podcast in the morning first dibs that listen to the episode. But I will be putting up certain segments of the show on YouTube so that people around the world can be able to get it, because YouTube is a great platform to hear my take on a lot of stuff. Anyway, hey, subscribe on YouTube as well. Show me some love there. And keep spreading the word to your fans. I appreciate the growing support and feedback that I've been getting. I feel I'm finally getting into the groove of things, and I love the feedback that I get from all you supporters. It's really much appreciated. Some big news have happened in the past week. We got Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. He got elected, so he'll be the 9th Supreme Court judge. A lot of controversy with that. I'm not going to get too much into it, but I really am interested to see how his nomination affects the upcoming midterm elections in November, which I will have an episode about, not to talk about my personal politics, but to just talk about politics in terms of the races, in terms of the campaigning, because like a lot of people know, politics is also a sport too. It's kind of grimy the way they do it. It's dirty sports, but it can be very interesting. Anyway, I want to give my condolences and prayers and thoughts to the people in Florida right now dealing with Hurricane Michael. I've been watching the news. That hurricane seems very devastating. I hope people are staying safe. And hopefully there's no deaths at all, and people just stay safe. And then the Dow Jones today is a Wednesday. I'm recording on a Wednesday, and that dropped about 800 points. Tech stocks going down. Yikes. What I will say is this. So, a lot of my friends know that I'm into the stock market. I think it's very interesting. I encourage a lot of people to actually learn about the stock market, just because you need to learn outside investing. You need to learn how to do it yourself. It's not as bad as you think. My friend Nick Guizzi has helped me out a lot with the stock market, and I've just been doing some research on my own. Even though the market is down, actually this may be some of the best time to buy the stocks, when it's on a bargain price, when it's on the low. Obviously, I am not approved certified financial advisor, but just giving you my short take on that. Do your own research, but see how the market goes. If it continues to go lower, but sometimes a lot of people buy on the dip. Then a lot of people buy on these things, and when the stocks are low, and then when it goes back up, that's how they get rich. That's what Warren Buffett's been doing for years. So even though everyone's running away from the stock market, don't be afraid to get in, because you never know what could happen. Anyway, let's start the show. Yeah, so I want to get into two people right now. I want to talk about one of my favorite rappers, T.I.P. I love some T.I. I think he's in my top 15 of all-time rappers. And I want to talk about this new up-and-coming R&B sensation, I feel, Ella Mai. Let me first start off with T.I. For those who don't know, T.I. actually dropped an album this Friday called Dime Trap. I felt it was a very good album, a great body of work. He had a lot of good features on there, a lot of good R&B features. I think my favorite song on there was there's one song with Meek Mill that I enjoyed a lot. Bear with me real quick. One song called Jefe, with featuring Meek Mill, which kind of had that upbeat trap music vibe that I liked a lot. And then the Amazing Fuck Up featuring Victoria Monet, which T.I. talks about his breakup with Tiny. And he talks about how he cheated and how there are issues with the marriage. A couple years ago, there was actually a VH1 reality show called T.I. and Tiny, which it shows that T.I. having the family life, doing the family thing. And so, obviously, there's been issues with that marriage ever since that show. I know there was one time where T.I. and Floyd Mayweather got into it at a bar over Tiny and stuff like that. So, this I felt was a very grown man album, similar to 444 in my opinion. And I know for a lot of you younger heads out there, a lot of people might be like, "Oh, Ti is kind of old now. What does he bring to the table?" But I think Ti is still a legend. Again, this guy has had a storied career, and I feel like this album, unfortunately, is getting overlooked by the masses because I don't think there was as much hype behind it. I think Ti, for me, I felt he dropped this album out of nowhere, and it was very different from the Carter Five because Lil Wayne has been out of the game for so long. And I felt Lil Wayne, I think his music resonates amongst a lot of generations. But here's the thing though, Ti, I felt his music did too. I thought Ti was a very big mainstream person, but it goes to show in the rap game, there's levels to it. There's people like Jay Z who are always relevant no matter what they're doing. There's guys like Lil Wayne and Eminem who could come back, and I think Ti is that same person. It'll be very interesting to see the first week sales. I really enjoyed Dave Chappelle cameo on this album. There is a lot of songs in which Dave Chappelle was dropping a little sayings, talking about his review of the album, certain songs. Check it out. It's called Dime Trap. It came out this Friday. I believe it was about like an hour long. So, a very hold on. How long was it? About an hour long. So a quick listen. But I think he really was dropping a lot of knowledge that I think a lot of the younger people need to hear. I think T.I. is a very interesting person. I know he's dealing a lot with Kanye's crazy ass right now. He's one of the people trying to figure out what the fuck's going on with Kanye with the whole Trump thing. I do feel that at this point, I think Kanye is trolling people. I think he's saying one thing to the masses, and then he's saying something different. So I think Ti is one of those people who's a good friend of Kanye. They did a lot of songs together, especially that famous song "Swagger Like Us." And I think they did a song called "Ye versus the People" when Kanye came out and talked about slavery was a choice, and Ti was one of the artists who was like, "Yo, what the fuck are you talking about?" But they did a song about it. But I always thought Ti is a funny dude. I'm always rooting for a guy like that because I think he's just a good person in general. So yeah, check it out, Dime Trap. Another person I want to talk about is Ella Mai. Is here Ella Mai or Ella Mai? It's ELLAMAI. She has a debut album coming out October 12th. It's her first. It's gonna be her self-named album, Ella Mai. Ella Mai. October 12th. I think it's gonna be good. There's a lot of hype with this girl. I personally feel she could be the next R&B star. I personally feel that. I think she's had a lot of good singles that have made her famous. So the first song she came out with that was popular for a lot of people was the song "Naked." And the song "Naked" was about just her. If you strip away the clothes, if you strip away the clothes, and you're naked, do you love that person for who they are as a person? There's a nice acoustic vibe to it. The video was pretty cool. It was a little social justice activist-y, but she's from Britain. She has a very great voice. I think the song that made her mainstream right now is a song called "Boot Up." It charted very well on the singles chart. There was actually remixes to it. That's why I think that was a song that I think really got people paying attention to Ella Mai. And I think with this album, she had another song called "Trip," which didn't get as much fanfare as "Boot Up," but I still think it was a good song. And then she dropped another single that's going to be on the album featuring Chris Brown called "Whatchamacallit." And if you listen to this song, it's literally a song about cheating. It's hilarious actually because Ella Mai's like, hey, well, I got a man, but we can still do this, and Chris Brown's like, well, I got a girl, but we can still do some things. And it's just about both of them singing about how they're in relationships, but they're having a side relationship with each other. So it's very very interesting. There's mixed reviews with that song. I think Ellie Mae is singing it in a different pitch compared to her other three hit singles, and I think she's a very very good singer. So I hope that she just shows her natural voice. I love singers who have that natural voice. That they don't need all the auto tune or any of that stuff. They just purely sing the song. The Whatchamacallit song is pretty good. It's a good hot beat. I like it. But I think a lot of people are saying, this song came out in say 2014. It might have been better just because of the industry back then. Um, so with Ellie Mae, I'm very interested to see how she does the first week and how she charts because there is a lot of hype about this girl. And for a lot of labels, when you have a star, up and coming star, the first album, this is the one that can either set you on the map or, if you have dull results and maybe you weren't as high as you were before. I do think that she could be the next big female R&B star. I really do think so. And I don't know if I'm mistaken, but we haven't really had a big R&B female star in a long time. There's been some here and there. I know SZA. I know a lot of people are gonna say SZA had a pretty good run. Not that she had a pretty good run, but she had a very good album. But I'm talking about a star that has had like a long longevity. It's been a while, so I think Ellie Mae might be that girl that might be able to be hit. That might be able to hit it, and not only that, she can be R&B. She could also cross the pop too. She also crossed the pop too. That Whatchamacallit song is very popish in a way. Or she could just stay in the lane of R&B. R&B's in a good space right now. I've been listening to a lot of the Joe Budden podcast, which I highly recommend. It's on Spotify. It's a big time hip hop show. They've been doing a lot of R&B songs. So growing up, I always was actually more of an R&B fan more than a rap fan, to be honest. But before I heard the show, I didn't really hear too much R&B. I think the last people were like Chris Brown and Neo for me, and then you have some sprinkled here and there like Jeremiah, Frank Ocean, Miguel. But it's good to hear some new talent, some new up and comers. And I'm excited for Ellie Mae, and I'm excited for the game of R&B. I think it's making a good comeback with a lot of these younger stars. So October 12th, self-titled album, Ellie Mae. Check it out. Let me know your thoughts on it. Let's get into this Conor versus Khabib match. UFC, the big match that happened on Saturday, features Conor McGregor and Khabib. I'm not even going to try to butcher his last name. He's a Russian guy. You know what? That card was amazing. I don't watch UFC often. A lot of my friends know me as the WWE guy. I will always have allegiance to the WWE guy. But, with UFC, when it first came out, I was interested. I watched from time to time, but I never really got into it until maybe Conor McGregor. And the reason why I like Conor McGregor is because he does a lot of antics that kind of remind me of the wrestling, to be honest. I think the knock that UFC fans always had about wrestling fans was, our UFC is real, wrestling's predetermined, it's fake. But here's the thing. If Conor McGregor doesn't do the antics that he does, UFC does not generate as much pay-per-views. So while wrestling might be predetermined or fake, the entertainment value of what wrestling brings to the table, the hype, the pre-match, the post-match, that's what draws people in, and that's what some of what UFC is bringing in to their stuff. So let me talk about this match. The card was amazing. The Derek Lewis fight, this guy, he won. And I think he's going to be facing Daniel Cormier next month at UFC 230. UFC fans, let me know about that. I didn't know fighters could recover from a match that quickly. But there was a good fight between Daniel Lewis. He won that match. He was kind of losing until he knocked out the guy. And then there's another match with Tony Ferguson in, which was a pretty good matchup. But I was really there for the main event. I went to Hooters with my friend. It was standing room only. The crowd was bumping. The bar was packed. Khabib versus Conor McGregor. It was such a controversial matchup. The pre-match, from what I know, there's a lot of pre-fight trash talk. And I love the trash talk. I love the hype. Sometimes I love the pre-match hype more than the actual match itself. Because it just builds it up. It gets you ready for it. The anticipation of it. That's what I love about sports. It's supposed to be entertainment. Get me hyped to watch your show. So anyway, I'm giving you my perspective as not a major UFC fan before this fight. So I didn't know much about Conor versus Khabib, but my friend who's a big UFC fan told me, yo, these guys hate each other. Conor was talking mad shit about Khabib. Conor did talk about Khabib's religion, which I think is a no-no. I think that's a no-no. Khabib is from the Russian region of Chechnya, which is very Muslim-dominated. And Khabib just looks like just a badass. This guy was wrestling bears at 8 years old. It's fucking insane. It's fucking insane. Khabib is such a badass, man. I really like that guy. But anyway, Conor was talking a lot of shit about Khabib's religion, him being Islamic and all that stuff, which I think is out of bounds. I think, you don't need to bring in religion or family to hype up your match, to do any of that stuff. But Conor McGregor, he's known for doing low blows. He's known for doing antics. I mean, he did the same shit with Mayweather, calling Mayweather a boy, which was very offensive to a lot of African Americans, just because when you're a grown man calling another grown man a boy, especially when it's a white to black, there's a lot of, you can go back to slavery and those connotations with that. So it was not a good look. And then there's another line which Conor McGregor said to the, black ladies, oh, hey, I'm black below the belt, if you know what I mean. But uncalled for. That's the shit that's like, that takes me away from wanting to watch a fight. Just focus on why you're better than that person. Maybe talk shit about their style. A little digs here and there, but you don't need to take it to the really, really personal. Okay? And I think that's something that Dana White has to look into. Maybe he has to set some guidelines. I know it's very silly to try to set guidelines for trash talking, but sometimes sometimes you don't want it to get too far to hype up the match, because then all of a sudden people start to talk about the comments more than the match itself. And some people get turned off by that stuff. And ironically, some people really want to see Conor get his fucking ass beat. So there's a lot of pre-fight trash talk. And then, Conor McGregor, so apparently from what I've learned, and excuse me, I don't know everything about UFC, but from what I learned, Khabib hit one of Conor's men, slapped him. Conor got pissed. He ran after Khabib's team, who was on a bus, and Conor was smashing on the window, wanting to fight Khabib, and then he threw a dolly through Khabib's bus, smashing a window, injuring a few of Khabib's fighters. Conor got arrested and I believe suspended. But Dana White kept showing that clip. He kept showing that clip in the pre-match. So a lot of people are having the conspiracy of, was this planned with Dana and Conor? I know Dana White, as much as he tries in the public, try to say, oh, Conor goes AWOL, he does this, he does that. Deep down, when he's with UFC brass, he loves what Conor's doing. And I'm sure he probably tells Conor, hey, you're allowed to do some things, wink, wink. I'm sure that's what happened. So, after all that, when it comes to the match, Khabib is just pissed. You threw a dolly injury on some of my boys. You talked about my religion. You talked about my father, calling him a coward. You called me a dirty Muslim terrorist. You talk about my Russian people, and the Russian people, there's some proud people. So by the time this match actually started, Khabib was ready to beat the shit out of Conor McGregor. And for the most part, he did. It went to 4 rounds. I think round 3 was the only one where I could say maybe Conor won the round. The rest, Khabib just did the ground and pound, and then in the 4th round, got him with a neck chokehold. And the crowd at Hooters went wild, man, because Khabib dominated that match. I didn't realize how many people were rooting for Khabib, and I think it had to do because of the way Conor McGregor is, his antics. Yes, it's entertaining to watch Conor, but I think for the serious UFC fans, they get sick of his antics. They get sick of especially the way they came at Khabib. He came at Khabib. I remember I was talking to this one cashier at Best Buy when I was buying the UFC 3 game, which is a really fun game. And he's of Muslim faith. And he was telling me why he was so glad Khabib won. And he said it really came down to McGregor's a piece of shit. And he attacked Khabib's religion, which was Islam, which is not right. Which is not, because you could tell the cashier was really personally offended that Conor McGregor was throwing shots at Islam, challenging Khabib to why he doesn't drink, that he's a weirdo for not drinking. When a lot of when the cashier was telling me a lot of serious Islam people, they don't drink. That's not what they do. So little stuff like that just really made a lot of people pissed off. So that was the match. After the match, Khabib goes crazy. He jumps over the octagon ring and gets into a brawl with McGregor's coach. So security's running over. They're trying to stop that fight between Khabib and McGregor's coach in the stands, in the crowd. Meanwhile, one of Khabib's people jumps into the octagon and hits Conor McGregor. I think it was a little bit of a sucker punch because he started at the back and the side. But still, I think Khabib's team was ready to go. Win, lose, or draw, they wanted to get McGregor back for the nonsense that McGregor was doing when it comes to throwing the dally at the bus, insulting the religion, insulting the people. It was mayhem. It was mayhem. And I was in the bar. Everyone was going crazy. I was screaming, let them loose. Let them all loose. If Vince McMahon was there, he's starting a match right now. Let them all loose. It was insane. And afterwards, people were buzzing. I was listening to ESPN radio. People were calling in nonstop about how they loved the post-match fight. And they said that if a rematch were to happen, they'd buy it automatically. I would buy the rematch automatically. Because it's great business. I mean, yes, there are some people who said Khabib should have handled himself like a champion. He won the match. He made Conor McGregor tap out. He did what he had to do. But I don't blame Khabib for maybe losing his cool or for really going after McGregor's team just because when McGregor insults the religion and all that stuff, I can see Khabib as a human being being like, screw this. Besides the match, I got to really send a message to McGregor's team that you don't talk about my people like that. You don't talk about my religion like that. So I don't blame Khabib for going a little bit over the edge and doing what he had to do. He was just handling business. That's the thing in society. So many people run their mouths. They talk all this. They run their mouths until they run up against someone who's like, put up or shut up. In this case, McGregor was the one running his mouth. Khabib was like, put up or shut up. And Khabib put him down. He put him down. After the fight, after the melee, they had to escort McGregor out the crowd, out from the ring into the locker room. Khabib was in the ring saying, "Where's my belt? Where's my belt?" Dana White's in there saying, "Yo, I'm not giving you this belt because if I give you this belt right now, there's gonna be a riot." Because people were very pissed that Khabib did that, and there's a lot of Irish and Russian fans there, so the tension was very high. I actually heard some reports that after the match was over, there were some brawls between Irish and Russian people. They were getting it on. Drunken atmosphere, the testosterone was high. Irish people, they're backing McGregor. Russian people backing Khabib. It was on and popping. And, I was watching ESPN on Monday, and they were talking about the fight. Everyone was talking about the fight, to be honest. And the majority of people were saying, hey, this is good for the sport. This is good for the sport. Now I want to kind of talk about it from a wrestling fan's perspective, from a neutral, casual perspective. UFC fans, and let me know, UFC fans, if I'm wrong or if I'm right. That's why that's the beauty of the Just My Take podcast, is that I bring up topics that spark conversation. But for me, is this the match that draws casual people to the sport of UFC? Is this also the match that maybe recaptures some of those fans that were started with UFC when it was hot and then maybe kind of drifted away to be like, oh shit, things are getting crazy at UFC right now. I gotta watch what's going on. I don't want to miss a beat. As much as we hate McGregor, this guy is a mainstream star. He's bringing in the pay-per-views, money. It's very interesting. And, there were clips. I don't know if it was official, but I did hear some clips on the Breakfast Club and other podcasts where they said that when Khabib was talking shit to McGregor in the ring, beating him down, McGregor was like, it's just business, man. It's just business. Which goes to show if McGregor had the green light from UFC brass to really go at Khabib, which is kind of fucked up if that's the case. That, if UFC brass to prove that Conor McGregor's trash talk, especially about the religion. I think that's uncalled for. And then McGregor not knowing that, Khabib takes that stuff to heart. Like, this guy's, he's just wired different. He just loves to fight. This guy was wrestling bears since the age of 8 years old. He doesn't care about the money or the fame. Well, before the match, we'll see about after. So Khabib was just ready to rock him out, rock Conor out. It was great. Anyway, does this match draw the neutrals? Many felt that the aftermath reminded people of WWE. Definitely during the Attitude Era, where the Attitude Era was just a crazy time. The 90s, early 2000s. That's when you had mainstream stars. You had entertaining storylines. You had this drama all along. Did it remind people of that? It certainly did to me. And I think this match is going to bring in a lot more casuals, because in any business, especially when it comes to the combat fighting business, there's always one match that people can go back to and be like, oh my God, I remember when this moment happened and this drew me into the sport. I was just more curious about it. I remember for wrestling, for a lot of fans, it was Austin versus Mike Tyson. And Stone Cold Steve Austin was in the ring with Mike Tyson and their security all around. And Tyson pushed Austin, and Austin and Tyson got it on. And it was mainstream news. And that brought in a lot of people to be like, oh shit, this is something special. This is something big. For boxing, I mean, it's hard to tell. I would say, Tyson Holyfield was interesting, especially when Tyson bit the ear. A lot of people were like, what the heck is going on over there? That's some weird, interesting stuff over there. So is this the match that brings UFC, lights the flame for UFC to bring in a lot of neutrals? Because at the end of the day, every sport, they're always trying to appeal to get more viewers in. Especially viewers like me, I love football, I love basketball, I love soccer, I watch wrestling. I love wrestling. Okay, I watch playoff baseball right now. Sometimes playoff hockey. I'm interested in seeing what the UFC is about. I bought the video game. It's a very interesting concept. The weight classes and whatnot. I think this is what UFC needs to do. Actually, before I talk about where does UFC go from here, I will say I still didn't like Dana White that after the post-match, especially in the press conference, he was putting the blame on Khabib. And then I remember when McGregor did his thing with the Dali, he's putting the blame on McGregor. Deep down, Dana White wants a lot of this drama to happen. Because the more drama that happens, the more people that are going to watch the fight, the more pay-per-view views, the more that the UFC gets, the more that the fighters get. So I don't know how behind the scenes that Dana White is to say, oh, do this or do that. and then the people actually do it, Dana White says, "Oh, they went AWOL. They were crazy." I don't know about that. I know there's a lot of UFC fans that don't like Dana White. I'm gonna try to learn a little bit more about the history of UFC just to educate myself a little bit better. So it'll be interesting to see. And also, you know what? The post match fight was so crazy. What I loved was I loved how a lot of fans were saying they reminded them of WWE, and that goes to show that wrestling can still be popular. It can still be super popular. If they went back to the Attitude Era where it was a much edgier time, oh my God, they can do it. They can definitely do it. But right now, it's too kid friendly. It's too kid friendly. Anyways, going back to this match. So where does UFC go from here? Right now, everyone's still buzzing about the fight. Even as the Wednesday, people are still buzzing about the fight. UFC is dropping some mainstream news. I heard Daniel Cormier versus Daniel Lewis. I think I also heard John Jones is coming back. And John Jones is a big time fighter who kept getting suspended for some drug abuse, steroids and all that stuff, but still a name. So they're shuffling. You can see UFC shuffling around a lot of matches to try to grab that excitement that's happening right now, to bring those fans back in, to bring the neutrals back. All right, hey, you thought this was good? Watch the next fight. I think it's a great time because to me, it reminds me of the WWE in the Attitude Era. And the one thing that made the WWE so special during that time was they had this great rotation of stars that they can bring in, night out, that kept people engaged. You had Stone Cold Steve Austin. Everyone remembers Stone Cold Steve Austin. But if Austin had an off day or if he had not too many segments, boom, he had The Rock. Rock not feeling too well, boom, Triple H. Mankind, Undertaker, Kane. And then the undercard was still filled with some good stars too. They weren't mainstream, but they knew how to play the role and bring the fans, keep the fans engaged from in the middle of the show. Because the top stars did the beginning and end, but in the middle of the show, you still need some good meat and potatoes. Guys like Goldust, Val Venus, The Godfather. You know, you get what I'm saying? They had a good rotation of stars. And UFC, from what I heard here, has a good rotation of stars. I think the problem is that some of them are not as entertaining as Conor McGregor. And I'm not saying that you have to act crazy like Conor McGregor, but Conor McGregor does generate that goofiness, that craziness, that people, it just draws people in. It just draws people in. So if these fighters are serious, they want to show that they're fighters. So a lot of them are maybe not the best at trash talking. My suggestion: take a play out of the WWE's playbook. In WWE, they have managers. The managers are there specifically to be talk pieces for the fighters. One prime example right now, Brock Lesnar, who's also coming back to UFC. In the WWE, Brock Lesnar he's not a good speaker. Unless he's cursing, which WWE, they don't really allow as much cursing these days. If he's not really cursing, Brock Lesnar is not the best on the mic. I've heard him a few times. It's cringeworthy. Trust me. So they got this guy called Paul Heyman, who's one of the best managers in WWE history, one of the best talkers in WWE history. He knows how to galvanize the crowd, move the crowd, and get people to either hate Brock Lesnar or love Brock Lesnar. So what I'm saying is that maybe UFC needs to take a page out of that book and bring in talk pieces for some of these fighters who are just like, hey, man, I just want to fight. I'm maybe not the best at talking. Bring the mouthpieces to bring in the hype. I mean, they kind of already do because, you know, when you see the fighters, you see their team behind them. Some of them have their family members or their coaches with them. Maybe have the coaches be the talk pieces. You know, because the one knock with WWE is that when it comes to if I ever hear a WWE wrestler, their profile is they're a serious wrestler trying to prove themselves. To me, in my mind, dead in the water. Fans want entertainment. They want a character who's entertaining. They don't want someone who's super serious. The difference with the UFC is that it is real. It is real. They have the advantage of building storylines, building storylines around matches in which the results are real. The UFC can be like, hey, we don't orchestrate these matches. They're not predetermined. The result is the result. But if they can learn how to build the hype and the storyline between, and I think they do. I mean, again, I'm a casual fan just starting to learn. So obviously with the Khabib and Conor, they definitely did the pre-match hype pretty well. But if they can do more of that, the pre-match and the post-match, it's going to help them out so much. I think it's going to help them out so much. You know, they have to have more of the Starsters trash talk, and I believe they do. But you know, maybe I haven't been paying attention. Maybe I got to educate myself more in the sport. But I'm also a casual too, and I know a lot of sports fans who are not UFC fans. But if they're entertained, they'll come through because there's a lot of people I talk to who are not normally UFC fans who were talking about the fight. It was the water cooler talk of the week. It was great. Yes, Khabib went AWOL and got into the crowd, and it reminded some people of the NBA's issue when they had the Malice of the Palace a couple of years ago. But here's the difference. To me, the players in the NBA, they went after some fans. Khabib just went after McGregor's coach, who is a trained fighter himself. Khabib was not going after any other civilians, just McGregor's coach, because McGregor's coach was talking shit during the match. So Khabib was like, hey, you want a piece? I'll give you a piece. So just phenomenal. Just phenomenal what the UFC has right now. They got a lot of good stuff right now. I think Conor, obviously, he's a star. From what I know, here's what I know right now. All right. So don't hate on me if I don't know too much. I know John Jones, Daniel Cormier, Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, of course, of today's stars. Khabib is definitely going to be a mainstream. After this matchup, he's definitely going to be a mainstream star because there's many people. I would say 75% of the people are like, I don't blame Khabib one bit for what he did. I probably would have done the same thing too. Actually, I'm glad that Khabib had the balls to back it up and handle his business. And I think a lot of fans like that. They like that Khabib is just a straightforward guy who will just knock your ass out in the ring. He plays no games. UFC can build around that. I like it. You got Conor McGregor. He's still got some fights in him before I think he comes home to WWE. Because I do think at some point he's got to go to WWE to get some more money and obviously not have to do UFC fights. I mean, we look at Ronda Rousey right now. You know, Ronda, she's the women's champ. She's wrestling almost every week, but it's not as hectic as UFC fights. Let's just be honest. So I think McGregor's going to come back, but they got to star McGregor. So, hey, if this is the spark that ignites UFC to really, really be big time mainstream beyond just the combat sport that some fans like, but to have a bunch of the casuals in, oh man, sign me up. Sign me up. Dana White, UFC has a good thing going right now. They just got to take that electricity in that bottle and make the correct next moves to get people more excited. But man, that could be a Conor fight. That was a great matchup. I loved every second of it, especially the brawl. All right, let's get into a more serious note. Here at the Just My Take podcast, we try to bring up stories that mainstream media may not be covering or something that you may miss. And this one, I'm very surprised that mainstream media is not covering the story. Just because this guy is probably one of the most recognizable athletes on the planet and a big-time international star. I'm talking about Cristiano Ronaldo. For those who don't know, Cristiano Ronaldo has some pretty serious rape allegations towards him. This German magazine, Der Spiegel, uncovered the story about a 2009 sexual assault case against Cristiano Ronaldo. The lady's name is Caitlin Mayorga, and the magazine reached out to Mayorga and asked her to speak out on it. Mayorga said that Cristiano Ronaldo sexually assaulted her and raped her in a Las Vegas hotel in 2009. And actually in 2010, Mayorga and Ronaldo settled out of court for $375K for Mayorga to keep quiet. And I believe that a non-disclosure agreement was involved as well. So the fact that Mayorga is actually breaking that agreement, as far as I know, goes to show that something's up. And especially in this climate of the Me Too era, it's a very dicey situation. It's a very dicey situation. Of course, Cristiano Ronaldo denies all these allegations, said that it's not true, said that the sex was consensual. And the lawyer, Ronaldo's lawyer, is saying this is pure blackmail. You know, someone's trying to take Ronaldo down. He's the biggest international star. He just left the Spanish major big club, Real Madrid, this past season and went to Italian major soccer club, giant Juventus, this past summer. Is currently playing for them right now. And he's trying to win a third Champions League with another team, actually. I've always been a fan of Ronaldo. I think there's always the rivalry between him and Messi was always fascinating. Those two carried the sport of soccer. Ever since I believe Zidane left, I think it's always been Ronaldo and Messi. So these allegations are pretty serious. His team Juventus came out very strongly and said that Ronaldo was not involved in this. They said that he's a class act and an amazing football player. And so because of those two features, he could not have done this rape. That is the stance that his soccer club Juventus is taking. Yeah, this is very dicey. This is very dicey. However, sponsors are very nervous about this. They're very nervous about these allegations. And there have been some. Listen, this is not as quiet as it may seem. I know ESPN did Outside the Lines. They did a story on this, but Outside the Lines tends to be their more investigative journalism show that uncovers a lot of stories. The last major story that they covered was obviously the Michigan State story about the doctor who was a piece of shit who sexually molested a lot of the U.S. gymnastic people. So Outside the Lines has covered this. Definitely a few European sites and shows have covered this. So it is out there. This isn't just, something on Reddit. It is actually out there, this story. Nike is watching this very seriously. EA Sports has actually removed Ronaldo from his webpage because actually FIFA 19, which I have a copy of, Ronaldo is the cover guy. And he is heavily marketed well in the game. If you play the game, which I haven't played the career mode yet, but there's a match between you and Ronaldo. So Ronaldo is a very revered star. I think you talk about Ronaldo. I think he's bigger than he's probably bigger than LeBron James, to be honest, because Ronaldo plays soccer while LeBron plays basketball in the NBA. I'm just very surprised it's not getting as much mainstream media attention in the States, especially in this current climate of the Me Too movement. I would suggest that people kind of go out and find the facts. And because right now, I'm just waiting to hear all the facts because it's a he said, she said story. I read some stuff on Reddit in which Ronaldo says, it was consensual. She didn't scream or when it was, even though she said no, she didn't scream or fight me off. So it was consensual, which obviously is a horrible thing to say. Horrible thing to say. But I've also got it off of Reddit, which is sometimes not the most reliable source. On Reddit, they tend to just post anything on there, any article. And sometimes they debunk it, sometimes they don't. So I'm not saying Ronaldo did or did not do it. But if this is true, Ronaldo's a piece of shit for it. He's a piece of shit for doing it. I don't stand by that. But if it's not true, then the woman is a piece of shit for doing the false allegation. So either way, someone's a piece of shit for what they're doing. The Me Too movement, it's tough. Honestly, it's the top topic happening in our country, the United States of America right now. We just had a huge battle with the Supreme Court justice over it. A lot of people are getting in there, and it's tough because, for me, my personal opinion, I felt that it was a long time coming. I felt it was a long time coming because, we've all heard stories of guys in power who use their power to manipulate women and to force women to do stuff that they're not comfortable with. So I believe it's a long time coming. I think that society has to look into this movement and the after effects. And I think really make a decision, just because for every person that is doing a false accusation, there is a person who's actually being affected by it. And I was actually talking to one coworker about who's a female, and her exact words were like, I get very pissed off by the girls who do the false allegations based off revenge, based off just being an idiot or wanting attention, because it really ruins it for the girls who actually been sexually assaulted before, because it muddies it for society, for the public to take the actual victim's side. And it's so true. It's so true. Unfortunately, right now, this the way the system is. There's a lot of men that are getting away with these heinous crimes because the public doesn't believe them. Look at that piece of shit Brock Turner from Stanford, some swimmer who got 3 months. 3 months because he's a star swimming athlete, and the judge didn't feel like this should ruin his life. It's bullshit. How do you think the victim feels about it? You have the whole issue with the Judge Kavanaugh and Christy Ford. Who was right? Who was wrong? So with this Cristiano Ronaldo thing, we got another case of a major star who is accused of this. And it's up for the people to find the facts. It's up for the court system to find the facts. Right now, I believe the Las Vegas police is reinvestigating this case to see what happened that night in 2009. So it's just very dicey. I think there is a growing trend right now from both men and women, that when it comes to false allegations, if you make a false allegation, you need to serve jail time. You need to serve jail time, because then that will stop the people who are making false accusations, so that when the real stuff happens, the real victims come out, they can be believed more and they can get the justice that they deserve. So I don't know, maybe that's going to be a law or something like that, because this has been happening throughout history. I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough topic. And obviously, I'm a male. I don't know 100% what it's like from the female's perspective. All I can do is just cover the story. And, Cristiano Ronaldo, it'll be very interesting to see what happens after this. Right now, it seems everything is fine, but this case is still happening. This investigation is still happening. While Ronaldo is the 90s allegations, and he's still playing well, but you can tell this is not a story that's going to go away. Because you can Google it right now. Ronaldo's still talking about the case. There are pundits that are saying, should Ronaldo be dropped from sponsorships? Should sponsors start dropping Ronaldo over this? So look it up. Let me know your thoughts about it, about Cristiano Ronaldo in general, and these allegations. Just let me know your thoughts, how you feel about it. I want to talk about something that happened today. I want to talk a little basketball. For those who don't know, Jimmy Butler returned to Timberwolves practice today, and boy, did he come with a fucking vengeance. This guy made a trade request a few weeks ago saying he no longer wants to play with the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's come on and said Andrew Wiggins and Karl-Anthony Towns are not serious about basketball, and that he doesn't want to play with those guys. He wants to play with guys who want to win. So he made his trade request because it's his final year of a contract. There's rumors that he wanted to go to possibly the Clippers or Nets to team up with another superstar. Minnesota has been dragging their feet to make this trade. Tom Thibodeau, who is the head coach and head of operations, he still thinks that this could work. I don't think it can. So Jimmy Butler has been having a lot of tension with his teammates, especially on social media. So he came back to the scrimmage today, and what he did is it was the regulars versus the bench warmers, and Jimmy Butler sided with the bench warmers, and he took it to the regulars, especially the Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns. He gave them the business. And after he beat them in the scrimmage, he curses at the team, especially the GM, saying they can't fucking win without him. That's what he says. You can't fucking win without me. You suck. I'm telling you, Jimmy Butler, man, this guy's a real one, man. For those who don't know the story, this guy, he used to be homeless at one point, and he was a second-round pick, and he's an all-star that he is today. So this guy is a guy who definitely fought and climbed his way to the top. So you can see from his perspective why he doesn't like the prima donnas, the guys who've been glorified their whole careers, and Towns and Wiggins. You can see it from his perspective. It was just a crazy scrimmage. A lot of the non-star teammates they're energized by Jimmy Butler. They know that Jimmy Butler wants to win. They can feel the hunger. They know that this guy. They know that they need Jimmy Butler to win. Everyone knows it. After Jimmy Butler cursed at the GM and left the gym, the players, everyone at the practice court was just stunned, mesmerized and stunned of what just happened. And I don't know if Jimmy Butler did that to prove a point, to say, hey, I want this trade now. Or if this is something else. Listen, he's right. The Timberwolves can't win without Jimmy Butler. The Timberwolves had Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins for, I would say, the last several years. They have for the last several years, but they didn't make the playoffs. And they barely made the playoffs last year as the 8th seed. And Jimmy Butler, when Jimmy Butler was on there before his injury, the Timberwolves were like a 3 or 4 seed in the West. So they dropped off after Jimmy Butler went out for the season. Went out with his injury. So Minnesota, man, this is a dumpster fire, because this was a team when Jimmy Butler got traded there. Everyone's like, yo, the Timberwolves, they might be that new team. They might be that new team to contend. Maybe once the Warriors, kind of disband a little bit, the Timberwolves can take over. I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened that made this Timberwolves project just be short-lived. I also don't know why is it taking so long for the Timberwolves to make this trade happen. Jimmy Butler does not want to play there anymore so far. He wants to move on. The reports that I'm hearing is that the Timberwolves are just dragging their feet. Other teams have been inquiring for Jimmy Butler for the longest. The Timberwolves are not picking up the phone. They're dragging their feet. It's nonsense. Because you're going to lose Jimmy Butler. I can see Jimmy Butler pulling a Le'Veon Bell and be like, not play for the majority of the season. I can seriously see him doing that. Because he hates that organization so much, especially the 2-star players. The latest that I've heard is that the Rockets were trying to go after him, maybe a trade of Eric Gordon and PJ Tucker for Jimmy Butler. They said no. I think the more serious contenders were the Miami Heat, that offered a pretty decent package for him. And Jimmy Butler was like, yeah, I'll play for Miami. Timberwolves said no. So clearly it's frustrating the Butler, because Tom Thibodeau still thinks that Jimmy Butler can mend fences and still want to play for the Timberwolves. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe he's right. Maybe he's right. Maybe this is the type of stuff for teams to sometimes galvanize. Teams have galvanized under stranger conditions, I will say, in the past. Maybe this is the moment that, Jimmy Butler is trying to say, I want to win, and I want to win now. And maybe this forces the other teams, especially Karl Anthony Towns, that could be a premier big man for the next decade. Andrew Wiggins, I don't know. I think that guy's a lost cause. I think that guy had so much talent. But at this point, I think he just doesn't care that much about basketball, only about the money. It's a shame, because I think if he really clamped down and played basketball seriously, he could be a good number 3 for that team. But maybe, and I know Jimmy Butler rides those two guys hard to play harder. And maybe this is something that Jimmy Butler is doing, maybe this sparks the team. Maybe it changes the output of the team. Or maybe this just forces Minnesota to be like, you know what, we got to get this trade done. Let's just move on. I can't wait for the NBA season. It's coming up in a few weeks. The regular season is going to happen. It's going to be a crazy season with the Warriors, man, and LeBron James and the Lakers and all that. I'm looking forward to it. But first, we got to get this Jimmy Butler thing closed. One way or another, either he's with the T-Wolves or he's straight to another team. And that's it for episode 26 of the Just My Take podcast. We talked a lot of stuff. I mean, we talked about T.I., Ella Mai, Khabib versus Conor. Oh, what a match that was. Cristiano Ronaldo with the rape allegations. Let's see what happens with that. And Jimmy Butler wilding out at T-Wolves practice. But I think it was much deserved. The T-Wolves needed to see something like that. Anyway, it's been another episode of the Just My Take podcast. Follow me on Instagram at the Just My Take podcast show. Please follow me on that show so I can interact and thank you. I've been starting to thank people who have been following the show and giving me feedback. Do me another favor. Please. It only takes like less than 5 minutes. Go on to iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Leave me a star rating and leave a comment. I would love if you guys are able to do that just for this week and more weeks. It'll make the show more popular. You can get more feedback, and I can maybe touch upon some more topics that I get from the masses. So please go on iTunes and do that. That'll be much appreciated. Also, if you're following on YouTube, subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. Every week I'm gonna put the podcast on the YouTube channel. I've gotten some actual feedback from the Ja Rule. One person actually liked Ja Rule and said, shout out to Ja Rule. One person actually didn't like it. But hey, it's a Just My Take podcast. It is what it is. You can follow me on the Instagram at the show page. You can also follow me on Instagram at DexPC5 and Twitter as well, DexPC5. I don't really do Snapchat or Facebook, so I just limit it to Instagram and Twitter. Follow me on those platforms. You guys have a great week, a nice weekend. It's supposed to be very nice in most parts of the country. And hey, everyone, just remember, whether you agree or disagree, it's just my take. Peace.